starts now.
That's right. We have a special edition, 4 o'clock, The War Room. And we're going to talk about war. My goodness.
War Room.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We're going to have a full hour of The War Room. It's all about Iran and the United States and Israel. So let's get to our panel. We've got former Arizona Congressman Matt Salmon, a Republican. Good to see you again, sir.
Thank you.
We've got co-founder of Lumen Strategies and Democratic strategist Stacy Pearson. Hi, Stacy.
Hello.
And we've got KTAR legal analyst Barry Markson. Good to see you, Bear.
Good to see you guys.
All right, so over the last couple of days, let's see. Trump bombed Iran Saturday. Today's Monday. Iran super weak retaliation did nothing. And then a couple hours after that, ceasefire. So it's over, right?
I'll see you guys later.
And they don't have a very strong footing. I mean, they are as weak as they've been probably since I've been alive.
Yep. Really?
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, so Iran says, I don't know we don't know anything about a ceasefire. The president of the United States says it's going to happen.
In 6 hours, it goes into effect.
Okay.
So Trump declared a ceasefire, but nobody else knows about it?
No, apparently there was a little miscommunication. I believe the Iranians have acknowledged that there's a ceasefire now.
No, he read the secret. He's just going to will it into existence. It'll be fine.
All right. So why don't we start from the beginning?
Okay, I don't even know where's the beginning of this?
The beginning is clear. The beginning was...
You going back to Babylonia, like where you started?
I was at the birth of Christ or before that. Where are we starting?
Installation of the Shah.
2025 years
How far
ago?
back you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
I say we go back to Saturday and we start there.
Okay.
All right.
Bunker busters.
Trump decides, okay, I'm not going to take 2 weeks.
I don't think he ever was going to
I don't think so
weeks.
either.
I think he knew when he said
yeah.
he was going 2 weeks. He
Wink,
wasn't that he was going to bomb.
Well, that's absolutely true because
Yes.
now they have reports behind the scenes that he was...
In order to put a mission together like that,
Right.
He had to know when he said.
Exactly.
So the 2 weeks was a total ruse.
It was a ruse.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Let's start with Stacy. Are you surprised Trump decided to take out Iran's nuclear program? Was that a smart move for the world, for our country?
In 2018, he took us out of the agreement. So this was always on the horizon. I mean, we stopped inspecting. We stopped looking at facilities. We always were in a...
It was a bad deal.
It was a bad deal. I wish I could do that voice better. Okay. Actually, I don't wish I could do that.
You don't
Actually,
need
I don't.
Oh, my goodness.
But we were always flying blind, more blind than we had been.
So was it a smart move? No. So why is it such a bad move? Because when I look at it, if we've destroyed their nuclear facilities and we've taken the bomb, out of their arsenal, how is that bad?
So I have a journalism degree. So
I don't.
I don't. What I'm worried about is cutting 80,000 jobs from the VA and putting troops in combat again. Like we are doing two things that are so diametrically opposed. And there are, even if the bombs in Qatar didn't connect today,
right.
People were fleeing. Americans were fleeing. They were
We
hiding
evacuated a base and put people in belt bunkers.
So,
and stuff.
and we're doing nothing to support the American military or the infrastructure, the actual people. We want a guy who just had troops sleeping on floors in Los Angeles, California, organizing where our troops are going to go next. That scares the bejesus out of me.
I want to push back on something Gaydos said.
Go ahead.
I do not know, and nor has it been shown that we obliterated, destroyed.
Just from what Trump said.
Right.
And
well, I tend not to believe him.
The 4-minute speech that he did on Saturday night when he said we obliterated them, but in a lot of the reports that have been done since then, you noted that J.D. Vance did not say obliterated.
Nobody else said obliterated.
No, nobody else said obliterated. They've said significant damage.
We may have knocked it back. We may have made him move it around. We may have delayed it, but it didn't end it. The nuclear program.
We have not ended the nuclear program, but we have severely slowed it down.
Barry Markson is smirking over there. What are you smirking about?
I'm smirking because over the weekend, I think on Sunday, I think it was J.D. Vance did an interview, and he said that we severely damaged the nuclear system and stuff. And the guy said, well, Trump said it's obliterated. And he said, well, what's the difference between obliterated and damaged? And the host was like, what? It's like the definition of words.
There is a difference.
What's the difference between those two gentlemen? One served, one didn't.
Well, that's
one
true,
had
too.
bone spurs.
But here's what I'm going to say is, and I'm no big fan of Trump, but I will tell you, it's going to be difficult if this is it. if this is all Iran does in responding to this, and we get to some kind of a peace deal pretty quickly with Israel and everything, and it looks like that's about to happen, it's pretty difficult to look at just this and say
it wasn't worth it.
Yeah. I mean, you took out
I hope that's the case
a
for all
terrorist
of us.
nation that has just been terrorizing the world for 40 years, and the United States specifically, and we've taken away their ability to have a nuclear weapon. I don't know how you look at this and say that's not a huge win.
They have been if they are part of the axis of evil,
sure,
they're the hub.
Yeah.
I mean, they are bad dudes, and when you look at our soldiers that are coming home in wheelchairs, and some of them that don't come home at all, the fact is those roadside bombs, they came from Iran. And Iran has been pursuing nuclear weapons.
30
yes,
years.
they say they're for peaceful purposes. You know when they're lying, their lips move. The fact is they've been lying for a long, long, long time. Clear back when I was in Congress, I left in 2017.
Yeah.
The intel said that they were just years away.
The Intel has said they're years away now, though, for 30 years.
I know, Bruce.
This is,
but the fact is that you cannot, even if the intel said that they were 20 years away, they were hell bent on getting to a nuclear situation.
Yeah.
And
I don't disagree with that.
there is no way.
I just don't think they're going to stop.
There is no way on God's green earth that you can allow that to go unchecked.
But somebody told us Iraq was also years away, right?
But I'm going to tell you, the UN, something changed over the last couple of weeks. The UN, which is, by the way, no fan of Israel, the UN came out and said they're incredibly close to being able to do this. They're violating the agreement. They're enriching uranium at a much faster pace, and they are on the verge of having a nuclear weapon. That's not the United States. It's not Israel. It's the UN. And when they said that, that's a change. And if you look at what they've been doing, what the UN's been tracking, is they were kind of slow playing the enrichment of uranium for a long, long, long time. Yeah. And over the last couple of months, they ramped it up like from here to here. Like I'm putting my hand all the way up now.
Because that's all they've got.
Yeah.
I mean, when it gets right down to it, they don't have a sound economy.
Yeah.
They don't have a strong military other than that. It's like it was a Hail Mary.
Israel's decimated them. Took out almost all of their proxies.
That's right.
Took out most of their defenses at home.
3 chiefs of staff in 10 days.
Yeah.
I think they've shown them how weak the Iranian military complex is, I guess you could say.
Right.
And
nothing like what anybody thought.
Let me jump in real quick. We're inside the war room. It is a special 4 o'clock edition. We've got Matt Salmon. We've got Stacy Pearson. We've got Barry Markson. I'm going to push back on Bruce now.
Ooh.
Okay, so Bruce, a second ago we were talking about, was it a strike? Was it a complete obliteration?
Did we obliterate their nuclear program?
How do we use 14 bunker busters and not obliterate what they were intending to do?
You assume you're bombing the right place.
That's exactly the point.
Did they have time to get stuff out?
We know that facility was a significant producer, but we don't know that it was the only one.
Well, there were 3.
Right, there's 3, but we also don't know that they didn't move a lot of that stockpile.
That's the
report.
There's reports that there were trucks moving last week. Moving, well, we don't know what was in the trucks.
Moving materials.
That report came from Iran, so I choose not to believe what Iran is saying. Is there a chance? Sure, there's a chance.
Well, we totally told them what we were going to do. They're not idiots. If they had anything they could move, they put it in trucks and got it out of there.
Let's quote Jim Carrey when he was told
you can't move an entire nuclear facility.
No, you just move the uranium.
You can't move. That's right. You can't move the whole facility.
Put the uranium in trucks and move it on.
Yeah,
but as far as
we always get more centrifuges.
It's a little
I think
volatile.
we pretty safely can believe that we knocked a lot of that out, most of it out.
Yeah.
It set them back a while for sure.
That's going to back them up.
Let's hope.
At least 2 years, 2 to 5 years.
Show me where we did this. I mean, I have an inordinate number of family and loved ones who served in Kosovo and Bosnia and Iraq and Afghanistan. And just show us some pictures, please.
Well, we have to get on the ground. I mean, it's underground. You have to go.
Fair.
You have to get people there.
Literally.
Israel's probably there right now making
and
lunch.
They've got the pockmarks,
well,
right?
and they've done a really, really good job
keeping
it from everybody's view.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's been part of the problem.
You mean Iran has?
Yes.
Yeah. By being 200-300 feet underground. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where you don't know exactly what it looks like. I don't think anybody, no one can tell you definitively what it looks like.
Even those
300
UN
feet
inspectors
underground.
that have been able to see what they've been able to see, I'm not sure that they've been showed everything.
In the span of 3 days, hopefully we've taken out their nuclear facility.
Hopefully.
We hope. Okay. Iran hit back at us, which was super weak today.
Right.
No one hurt in the barracks.
And they warned us in advance it was coming.
They warned us in advance it was coming, which means we're just doing this to save face.
Yeah,
and then there was a ceasefire.
And didn't we take out all the missiles before they even hit the target?
None landed in Qatar.
None. Okay.
I mean, if it is true that we took out their nuclear facilities and it's over, it's a huge win for Trump.
God bless America.
It's a huge win.
If that is a fact, then it was a stupendous move.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely amazing.
All right, we're inside the war room. We've got former Arizona Congressman Matt Salmon. We've got Democratic strategist Stacy Pearson. And we've got our legal analyst, Barry Markson.
I think we're lucky to have former Congressman Salmon in here because we're going to start with you. Was Trump right about not telling a single Democrat about the airstrikes in Iran? And have you been on the receiving end of that? We'll talk about it next inside the war room on KTAR. There is a bit of a debate going on. Coming up a little bit later on the show, we're going to talk to Senator Ruben Gallego about this. What role does Congress play in starting a war, possibly starting a war, military action, and does the president have any responsibility to inform members of Congress, specifically members of the other party? Because apparently that did not happen over the weekend, and we have former Congressman Matt Salmon in here. I can only imagine during all... We were looking it up. I'm not lying. Your years in Congress... There are plenty of instances of military action that happened during your years in Congress.
And almost virtually the exact same thing happened. I served under Clinton and I served under Obama.
Yeah.
And you mentioned some of the wars, Kosovo, Bosnia. And when, there were many things militarily that Clinton did without getting Congress's permission. The same thing with Obama when he attacked Syria.
Yeah. Drone strikes and things like that.
Yeah. There was no permission from Congress. And let's get real. I mean, yes, the Constitution says very clearly in Article 1, Section 8, that Congress and Congress alone has the ability to declare war. But then again, in Article 2, it gives the president the title as commander-in-chief. And so in recent years, we really haven't had a declared war since World War II.
The last time we declared war
let that sink in.
Yeah, so Korea, Vietnam, they were not wars.
Contain no war.
Here's a big difference, though.
Barry Markson.
And Matt's right. But in those times that you just mentioned, I'm pretty sure the president spoke with the Gang of Eight, the leadership on both sides of Congress and both parties, and that's not happening right now.
Right.
I saw a couple people from the Gang of Eight talking about before the strike and after, saying nobody ever contacted us. Now they're saying, Trump's administration, by the way, saying we tried to call Hakeem Jeffries before and he didn't pick up, and we called Schumer and
we left a message.
But it's
shot a text.
Called him right before it happens.
Hey, call me.
The idea is you're supposed
we
to
had
consult
him on Telegram.
Yeah. And that concerns me a bit because you don't want. We talk about the authoritarianism of Trump. The last thing we want is Trump treating our military like it's his personal army and not involving Congress. I'm not saying you have to have approval, but they should at least be involving both parties and letting them know in advance.
I don't disagree.
Let me get you in a sec. Special edition of the War Room. If you're just tuning in, there's Matt Salmon. We've got Democratic strategist Stacy Pearson. We've got Barry Markson, our legal analyst. Go ahead, Matt.
So I don't disagree with what Barry just said. I think that ultimately, if you enter into what is going to ultimately constitute a long-term military effort where lives are going to be, put at stake, American lives are going to be put at stake, you need not just the Congress, you need the people of the United States behind this endeavor.
So why did Congress not vote on Iraq? Afghanistan. We were in Afghanistan for 20 years.
Right. And ultimately,
not a war.
No,
there's a workaround.
And that's the point that has to be made.
Yeah.
That one of my really, really close and dear friends has just recently filed a bill. It goes back to the War Powers Act in 1973.
Is that Mr. Massey?
Yeah, Thomas Massey. He's actually a really dear friend of mine, and he's a great guy. But the fact is, as we go forward, I think that, we need to get back to remembering when the entire Congress stood on the Capitol Hill steps after the attack of 9/11, and they locked arms and saying, "God bless America." We've got to have that kind of support going forward if we're going to be successful.
Let me ask Stacy Pearson, Democratic strategist. So the way Trump handled this politically, didn't tell a single Democrat. I think you have to have some sort of secrecy when it comes to a mission like this. And he obviously held it close to the vest. A lot of Democrats are saying he did something illegal. I don't see anything illegal here. So why is that their position that Trump did something illegal here?
So illegal, immoral, inappropriate, all of that remains to be seen.
Okay.
What the Democrats need to pivot to is in his big, beautiful bill, go get more funding for the VA.
Yeah.
You want, let's go. You need leverage. You have leverage right now in the fact that America is holding its breath, hoping that this tones down and doesn't escalate.
Ceasefire sticks, et cetera. Yeah.
Right. But
80,000 jobs are being cut at the VA. Go get this back.
I don't remember Obama bombing Libya and the Republicans going
You guys
crazy.
mind? Yeah. Well,
I don't remember that. So why are the Democrats doing that now to Donald Trump other than they hate the guy and everything he does is wrong?
Because we live in instant messaging.
I think
it's Twitter. It's,
So it was okay under Obama that he didn't tell anybody,
I think
but Trump does
You
it.
have to
and
know.
it's wrong.
I think there were.
And it's
Why
wrong.
should you tell? Marjorie Taylor Greene's mad at him even.
First of all, Obama did tell the Gang of Eight. So it's different than what happened here. But the other part is there were Republicans who didn't like that Obama was doing that.
Yeah.
There were Republicans who stepped up.
There were Democrats that didn't.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be that. But the fact is, generally, the party of the party that's in power who has the presidency, they kind of let it go. And then when it's a different guy in office, all of a sudden it's a problem that you didn't come to Congress and get authority. It's silly.
It's kind of like the Democrats now in the Senate that all wanted to get rid of the filibuster, thanking God every day they got the filibuster.
There is
I
that.
mean,
It's weird,
it
right?
depends on date and time and who's in control.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say, and we're not talking about this, but the other folks who, when we've done things like this in the past, the United States goes to either the United Nations for the big one with Iraq, but we go to our allies and we talk to them and tell them what we're doing. And there's no indication that any of that happened here other than Israel knowing that we didn't go to anybody. No. We went this alone. And that's a bit unusual. We usually get some international support for what we're about to do, and that didn't happen at all.
We're inside the war room. That was KTAR legal analyst Barry Markson. Of course, we have the co-founder, Lumen Strategies, and a Democratic strategist, Stacy Pearson, and former Arizona Congressman Matt Salmon in the war room, the special edition of it. Up next, is Trump on board with regime change in Iran? Does he want to make Iran great again? We'll talk about it next inside the War Room on KTAR.
Yes, it's a Monday, but we have a special edition of the War Room after everything that has transpired with Israel and Iran and the United States. Programming note, 5 o'clock, Mondays with Megyn. Megyn McCain will join us. She will weigh in on this. 5:30, Senator Ruben Gallego. He will join us and weigh in on this. But currently, we are in the war room. We've got former Arizona Congressman, Republican Matt Salmon. We've got Democratic strategist Stacy Pearson. And we also have KTAR legal analyst Barry Markson. The news of the day is there's a ceasefire. It seems Israel and Iran agreed to it. It's going to happen in the next few hours. We'll see how that goes. What's interesting to me is that the Trump, I'm going to take 2 weeks, total ruse. We see all the planted stories about Trump needed more time. I'm changing my mind. I'm going back. Maybe that was a brilliant misdirection. What do we think of this ceasefire? Because over the weekend, Trump was talking about making Iran great again and having a regime change, right?
What color are those hats going to be?
So, if he's talking regime change Sunday, today there's a ceasefire. If you're Iran and you're like, oh, they're lulling us into this thing. Israel's going to whack us. U.S. is going to whack us. Do we buy the ceasefire?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a
buy
ceasefire.
the ceasefire.
Israel said they were getting ready to finish up. They've bombed what they need to bomb. The interesting thing with the regime changes, we haven't seen the Ayatollah since Saturday. I mean,
he's in hiding at best, right?
But he hasn't even, from a filming stand, he hasn't even filmed something saying we're coming after the Americans. I mean, there's been no sign of him at all.
There's supposed to be some secret unit that we don't know about that's guarding him.
But he's 86 years old. He's losing it a little bit from the reports. And
so 7 years older than our president. Yeah. FYI.
Well, yeah, but it's
7 whole years.
Look, if there's going to be a regime change in Iran, it's going to have to come from inside Iran. It's not going to be. We're not going to send troops in, and I hope we don't. We're not going to go in there and do this ourselves. I think we've hopefully learned our lesson.
Regime change wars don't make sense.
Well, I was
It
just going to
doesn't
ask
work.
if anyone could tell me the last time we tried regime change and it turned out well.
It's a good question.
We do it when the CIA does it and it's secret and we don't even know what's happening.
Well, you say that, but they did that in Iran, and it led to the revolution.
That's right. And the Shah getting deposed.
And the Shah getting kicked
Devil,
out.
you know, there's something to be said about the adage.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
President Trump is going to have to go back to the message, and his people are going to have to just beat it into him that this was all about stopping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon and nothing about regime
But if the
change.
regime doesn't change,
If the
does their
regime doesn't-
nuclear ambitions change? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if it's still the same Ayatollah, the same people, are they going to be
look,
more emboldened, or are they going to be afraid of what happened?
I think they've been beat so low at this point that they just don't have any cards left to play. The whole endeavor to go after the nuclear weapon was a Hail Mary in the first place, and I think that they realize they've been outplayed.
Don't you think that Iran is just begging to get into a meeting and a negotiation because they have nowhere else to go?
Did you ever see the movie The Mouse That Roared?
Yes, what a
Remember
great movie.
with Peter Sellers, it was a great movie. But by the way, they got into the war with the United States because they realized the reparations.
Yeah, they wanted to lose.
They wanted to lose
so they could get all the money.
Yeah, like the Marshall Plan. And maybe the people in Iran are thinking the same
Well,
thing.
okay,
Who
so
knows?
you say the people in Iran. Who's this idea? We talk about a regime change if it were to happen. Who's next? What's up next?
He's named three people who
he likes.
Well, he said here's who it should be chosen from, and then the group, whatever his group of people there would pick from those three. But a few years ago there were huge uprisings in Iran.
Yes.
There were people in the streets, and it was
But
a huge
they
thing.
shot him, didn't they?
They need that again.
Yeah.
And really the only way this happens is if a bunch of people inside the top levels of government inside come in and say we're taking this over, we're done with this, and they get the military. Iran has actually
And then we
become.
assume they still like us,
Yeah.
or they
Oh,
do
they
like
do.
us.
Oh,
it'll be
right?
better.
I mean, that's the
And up
assumption.
until we started bombing them, I have friends that have been there many times, and the people have great regard for the United States.
But Iran has become much more of a military type dictatorship than a religious one.
Religious,
The
right.
religious are still there, but the military really controls things.
Right.
So
Well,
the
and
only
they
way
still
it works
have
is
the
if they're-
asset that is oil, which is
they have a lot of
going
money.
right, which is going to make them a target for any one of the other folks that
Right.
do not like us.
But it
be
has
it
to,
China, be it Russia.
You just
be
need
it-
like a George Washington type person to come in and say, I'm in the military, I make a bunch of money, I'm in on the corruption, I get whatever I want, I live a great lifestyle. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to lead us to a place where we can have some sort of elections, and we can have a normal,
Diplomacy,
and we can live in the rest of the world. And just
Can I
let our
throw
people
another
do
wrench
things.
into this?
Go ahead.
No, don't do that. It's so nice.
For their own national interests, China, Russia, they don't want to see regime change. North Korea,
Of course.
they don't want to see regime
That's
change.
exactly the point.
They like the regime
Yeah.
right now, and it's benefiting them financially.
You know what's better than having a nuke is having a
they're-
friend with a nuke. Like that's the issue that we're facing in Iran.
I
Like
can
it's
guarantee,
that.
though, Stacy, that Xi Jinping has lost he's had a lot of sleepless nights over Kim Jong-un and his
That's enough to
Man.
give you
That's right.
indigestion.
So,
Kim
so,
Jong-un.
so be careful what you wish for.
No,
Yeah.
that's true.
But they really do. The oil that Iran produces, a lot of it's going, 40 some odd percent goes to China.
Right.
And you
Right.
got to believe on some level they're in their own national
Well,
interest.
and that's why I know, one of the things that's out there on the table, closing the straits of Hormuz, that's probably not going to happen because
you know
that
what?
would
Tell
hurt
you what.
China more than anybody.
We're going to get to that coming up
Okay.
in just a second.
We are inside a special edition of the War Room, a war room, joined by Matt Salmon, Stacy Pearson, and Barry Markson. All right, the question on the table. Will we see an increase in the price of gas because of unrest, or will this ceasefire that was announced moments ago and is scheduled to go into effect in 5 hours now, I believe, calm the waters, if you will?
If the ceasefire actually becomes a thing forever, as Trump has said, or even for a long time,
Yeah, reasonable amount of time.
then I think there's a possibility we see lower gas prices. I mean, a lot of the reason that Iran is facing the economic harm that they are is because of all the sanctions that have been on them. Those sanctions are lifted.
The ceasefire looks like a white flag from Iran. Like they can't wait to negotiate. They're getting their rear ends kicked.
Mouse to the Lord.
Yeah, and it's like, well, what are you going to do? Well, we'll shoot a few things into the air and it'll get all knocked down. I don't think they have anything left.
No.
I don't think they're going to do anything with oil in the Strait of Hormuz. I think they're done. I think they're like, listen, we're just going to try and live. Our nukes are gone.
And if they play nice and we lift the sanctions and all of the international sanctions are lifted against them, theoretically.
But that's not going to happen with the existing regime, no matter how nice they are, right?
I don't know. It
depends on what they do. They come to the table and say, we're going to get out of the nuclear business. You can come in anywhere you want and look at anything you want. We're going to get out of the terrorism. I mean, I'm dreaming now because I don't think they're going to do that. But suddenly
we might as well dream big.
Yeah, I mean, that's what needs to happen for the people of Iran is stop making the focus of your government that the USA is the evil, the Satan, and that Israel needs to be completely obliterated, as Trump would say.
But this is the moment that I'm proving that I'm a pessimistic Democrat. What if this is all rope-a-dope? That it really is, hey, we're complying, we're being really nice, we're so sorry. Everyone.
They've done that
I was going to say they've done that for decades.
Everyone let their guard down. In the meantime, I've got Coke machines coming in from China filled with nuclear material.
The one thing you're right, and it has happened before. And the one thing I will say with Trump is I hope it isn't something where we start lifting all the sanctions and giving them all this money to help fund stuff again. But if there's a way to do it slowly and let them prove to us that they're really doing it, great. It's probably a dream.
Verifiable.
Yeah, but if you can do it,
yeah.
But it's probably a dream. I mean, what we really need to do is get some different kind of government in there that's more focused on economics and better things for their people, and let's go.
But Barry, is it a dream or is it that's what their reality is right now? They've got nothing. They can't hit us. They can't hit Israel.
They have a 1 million-man army.
Okay, how did that work out so far? How they doing?
Well, they haven't been invaded. Yeah.
Okay. Well, but
they need to be. It was. Yeah. They're done. The defenses are decimated.
Right.
They took out all of their proxy folks in Hamas.
They don't have an aerial.
No control over the air.
They have nothing.
Nothing.
They're completely exposed right now. It's like leaving your front door open and your back doors and then putting a sign out that says "Come on in and steal my stuff." I mean, that's
the argument is again backed into the corner. Who knows? And again, maybe the ceasefire prevents that. Or
they come out and fight dirty. Who knows?
Would they try to close the or even threaten the Strait of Hormuz? Might be enough to cause disruption.
But
if they actually did close the Strait of Hormuz,
then we're at war again.
But Asia would be harmed a lot more than we would.
Yeah, and Iran would that's where the oil's going.
Yeah, that's where the oil's going.
That's how Iran gets its oil out of there, by the way. So they can't get any money then.
Right. That's right. It's like biting
cut your nose off, right?
Your face.
But I'm saying, I think it would be a move of last resort. Please don't get me wrong.
Right. But that's the only kind of moves they've got.
So it's how desperate are they?
That's
and how desperate
are
will they be?
But maybe they're desperate enough to actually play nice and actually do it.
I heard somebody say, way smarter than me on TV today, but say historically when there's a dictatorship like this that's been publicly humiliated militarily like this, that is usually the end of it. That eventually it comes to an end. So in the somewhat near future. So we'll see if that's the case. I mean, I say this about all these countries that are run by dictators. I was in Cuba 5.5 years ago, and the people there are great. They're entrepreneurial. They're nice people. They love America.
It's the same way with the people in China.
It's just,
it's not representative of the government.
Get these guys off their backs, and they'll be wonderful neighbors and partners, and it'll make everything better for their people. Iran is so much like that. Iranians are really nice people.
I just don't think we're going to have Denmark springing out of Iran. Do you know what I mean? I just don't see that happening there.
No, there's got to be a long-term plan in Iran to get back to being as evil as they always are. But right now, they're on the ropes, and they know it. And they can't win this battle. They can't win this fight. So can they live
got long
for
memories.
another day?
Yes, got long memories.
I think one of the things that we haven't talked about that's really interesting is that the Ayatollah or the Prime Minister and Putin talked today, and now they're entering in a ceasefire. You got to wonder. I would love to have been a fly on the wall to hear what he had
like
to tell
the influence that Russia has over them.
Right. Yeah. Well, after Medvedev, whatever his name was, the former prime minister and president of Russia, came out and said, "We're going to send them our own nuclear warhead."
He said, somebody could sell them. Somebody could sell them nukes. He said.
Again, a friend with a nuke is terrifying.
What do they have to buy with, though?
Here's the bigger question. I'll leave you with.
Oil.
But really, with these Islamic countries, is there one that could ever be democratic and free and a free economy? The only ones that are safe and peaceful with us now are all dictatorships.
Yeah.
There's no exception to that.
Right.
Great job, guys. Thank you so much for being inside the war room. Hope you guys got a lot out of that lively discussion again. Matt Salmon, Stacy Pearson, and Barry Markson with us. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you for being here, making time on your Monday.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.